What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Slow Restoration, and today we have a 2005 GMC Sierra, but Silverado is going to be the same thing. This is 2500, 3500 should also be the same with the Duramax. We're going to be installing this Mbrp 3-inch downpipe. The very first thing you want to do is pull this inner fender liner out. As you can see, we have ours removed. It's sitting right there. And it's just held in by these little plastic clips. You pull the center out. Most likely, if you've had one of these trucks, you've had the inner fender liner out before, but it's easy. You pull those clips out, just pull the fender liner out, and you'll see how much room you now have up in there. Right here's our downpipe. We do have the complete exhaust system removed because we're putting a complete Mbrp 5-inch exhaust on this truck. So the factory system is already been removed. If you did, obviously you're still going to have your exhaust hooked up, so you're going to unhook this V-band, separate your exhaust system from there, and that's where we are now. There's a bolt right here. Our bracket was actually broke. There's a bracket that comes off this bottom two bolts of the exhaust manifold that comes over. We already have that removed. The next thing we're gonna tackle is there's a bolt. Let me get my light down here. There's a bolt right up here. While we're right there, this holds a heat shield on. There's two more up top, but remove that bolt first because we're right here. And there are two studs with nuts. Let me see if I can get my hand up in here. One there and one, you can see it back there. That holds this dipstick tube to the bell housing. Obviously, it's a lot tighter through there without removing those. So if you remove them, you don't have to remove the dipstick tube. If you really wanted to, you could, and it'd probably be easier. But just taking those two nuts off and having that dipstick tube float around is enough room. So we'll get those two removed. We'll drop the truck down and continue removing that heat shield. This is, by the way, a 2005 Duramax, which is the LLY. Have it really close, I don't know why. It's a 2005 LLY, so the rest of them should be very similar, but this is a 2005. All right, so while you can use a wrench right through the wheel well, I prefer to use an extension and a swivel with a socket, and obviously from underneath you can get right to these two bolts. We'll take these, well, nuts, they're studs and nuts. We'll take the two nuts off the studs, one here and one on the inside there like I was showing you, and you can get both of them now with this extension and swivel. And with that loosened up, as you can see, we have plenty of movement here with our dipstick tube. So we can just kind of swivel that out of the way, push it back, whatever you want to do. And now we're actually going to drop it down, take two more of those 10mm bolts out of the heat shield and pull the heat shield out from up top. All right, first things first, to gain a little bit more access up here, we're going to go ahead and remove this black cover. There's a clamp right here and a Torx bolt right here. We'll get this pulled out of the way, and then we'll tackle those heat shields up top. And with that out of the way, we can actually kind of see the turbo. Turbo is right there. There's a heat shield covering the top of the turbo. So there's one back there, 2 and 3 10mm bolts that hold that heat shield on. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way, and it'll just allow us a little more access back behind to that downpipe and the heat shield that's on it that needs to be removed. And with those bolts removed, this is now loose. We'll just kind of twist and turn and pull that up out of there. It is a fight, so I'm just going to get it out of there and then we'll show it removed. So I'm not going to leave you totally in the dark of how to get that out, but you can, it's kind of U-shaped. You can open it up a little bit, turn it sideways. This AC line you can pull, be careful with it, but gently pry it to the other side of the cowl here. And then this line, I think it's a fuel line, gently pull it to, and you can start getting that between the firewall and the turbo housing back there, and just keep pulling it out this way. And we just got that heat shield out. As you can see, it's just kind of spread open a little bit. Don't worry, it'll bend right back into shape. You don't have to put this back on. As you can see, you got plenty of clearance room around that turbo, but if you want the factory look or just are worried about it, you can put that back on. But it does come out not too very difficult. It's just some twisting, bending, and turning. All right, now for the heat shield on the turbo itself. Right here's the V-band clamp we need to remove, but we don't have to do that right this second. Right here is the first bolt. Hopefully you can see that. It's the one that's a little bit more accessible, about, I don't know, 6-8 inches down from the top of this. Over on this side, you can reach right down through here and get a ratcheting wrench, is the third bolt. Once we have that, then we'll do the same thing, pull this heat shield up out here however you have to. That does not get reused. The Mbrp replacement pipe, and I think the MagnaFlow even has heat wrap around it for that purpose. And with those 2 bolts out of the top here and that one at the bottom, so there are 3 bolts 10mm in this heat shield, it's now loose. So we can take and kind of wiggle it up through here. You might have to bend that tab down here at the bottom to get it through, but again, it's the same way. It's just twisting, turning, maybe bending a little bit. Like I said, you're not reusing this, so however you got to get it out of there, just don't damage anything up here. And just like that, that is out there. Doesn't come out too bad either. You just bend that around, gets it around that one stud, but other than that, that would bend right back in shape. That's a perfectly good heat shield. We're just not going to use it anymore. And now for the last part in removing this, except for actually wiggling that down pipe out, which will come out of the bottom, we do have to undo this band clamp here. So we'll get that loosened up. These can be stubborn. We'll get loosened up, maybe spray some WD or your favorite penetrating oil, and get that V-band clamp to break loose. And we'll go put the truck back up in the air and slip that down pipe out of the bottom. And that, with that V-band clamp off, we have it slid up onto the turbo there. It is a little stubborn. You'll probably have to pry and tap on it. Once you get that separated, the only thing left to do is actually pull that down pipe, like I said, out from the bottom. Again, it'll be a little bit stubborn. It'll be kind of rusted onto the turbo housing. A couple pries and taps. We'll get that popped out, and then just, again, whatever you need to do. The dipstick tube is loose now, so we'll get that slid out, and then we'll compare the two. Being back down here with that broke loose off the turbo housing, it can be a fight. This one was pretty tight, pretty stuck on there. Some of them are going to be worse than others, but anyway, now we have it loose, so it's just a matter of twisting and turning and getting that to pop down through there. And with a little twist action kind of towards the front of the truck, we can pull that right on down out of there. Now we can lay the new one and the old one side by side. As you can see, this one's kind of squished down to an oval, has a notch back here, and this one is mandrel bent the whole way through. Here's the heat wrap I was talking to you about. This is Mbrp, but I think MagnaFlow looks honestly identical to this. So there we are. Now we just gotta throw this back up in the truck. We'll get this cinched down up there, and we'll see if we can fix that bracket and get this bolt welded through, and then it's just a matter of building back from there. But let's go ahead and put this in. I'll show you how to do the rest of it. All right, so in my case, I have to repair this bracket here. As you can see, it's broke, it's cracked. It actually broke off of the mounting. This bolt also broke. So what I did, it's very long off the back side here, so I cut it off. We're gonna put this in the vise. We'll heat that nut up and use vice grips to get that bolt out. And then we'll put this back up on the truck in place and weld this all back together. And this actually goes right here. So it supports, keeps all the weight from the exhaust from hanging off the back edge of the turbo. Now going back in, I didn't even have a chance to, I was going to test fit this, see how it fit, and it actually just plopped right up in there. So I could pull it out and show you, but it literally just goes right in there. You can feel your way, push that into the back of the turbo. We'll finish lining it up when we get up top there. You can see our brackets now welded back on. Got the bolt out, holes lined up. So this actually goes in way easier than the original one did. So we'll leave it loose for now. We'll go up top, line that V-band up, get our bolt started here, and wait to snug everything up until we get everything situated. And if we just start that bolt at the bottom there, it'll keep that pipe from falling out until we get up top and finish lining that up and getting the V-clamp on there. And back up top here, hopefully you can see that. Let me put my GoPro in here. We have that pipe slid into the back of the turbo. Make sure it's all the way in. It'll have to be wiggled and moved around a little bit. And then we'll get this V-band back over the joint and go ahead and snug that up. And the only thing left to do up here after that is throw this heat shield back on if you want it. We got that V-clamp all snugged up. It does help sometimes to take a small hammer and don't, you know, destroy it, but lightly tap as you're tightening the V-band. You can tap on the V-band itself and on the pipe, snug it up, tap on it a little bit, and then snug it up again. You'll notice that you can get a little bit tighter. You don't want to break that bolt, so don't go crazy on it. Just snug it up nice and firm. All right, and we are going to go ahead and put this heat shield back. Like I said, either way, you can leave it off, you can put it back. We're just going to throw it back on there. It's still opened up. You kind of just shove it back in there and roll it into place, and then we can take our hands and squeeze that back so it goes down in its spot and reinstall our 3 bolts, and we'll be ready to go. So we just throw this cover back on and we're completely done. We have that heat shield back on. That all went nice and smooth. It's actually pretty easy. Just make sure you put any hoses that you moved back in place, throw that cover on, and now we're ready to go down there back under the truck and finish this job. And you're going to want to put the 2 nuts back on the studs that hold the bracket for the dipstick tube. That's nice and secure now. Same way I like doing with the extension. Maybe just because there's more room here with the exhaust out, maybe you would have to use a wrench, I don't know, but that's the way we did it. Now we can actually start piping all of our exhaust back, but that's another video. Of course, we still got to tighten that bolt up, and if we had our exhaust up here, we would tighten this V-band up, reinstall our inner fender, and that would be it. We could enjoy this. Well, I'm probably going to stop there, and then we'll do another video with the exhaust system itself installed. So thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.